Hi everyone, my name is Heather and I am the owner-operator of Iowa Yorkie Babies and Burner Babies. So this is probably not the first time that you have met me, but this is probably the most exciting video that you'll watch. So I just sent you this link because you are getting ready to make your pickup appointments and meet your new puppy. So today's video, I just really want to kind of walk you through what to expect at pickup. And what you expect in your packet. So the very first thing that I want to talk about is when you get here, especially those people with children, you'll want to kind of be calm and on the quieter side. And that's really because our puppies do tend to know that something is going on. And so they're already kind of nervous and scared and apprehensive. And so when you come in gentle and quiet, that's very comforting and reassuring versus if you come in loud and running and things like that. So just try to remember to kind of keep a calm and more level tone and to try to give our puppies as much comfort as we can during this really big transition, honestly. You know, you got to think that your puppy is leaving everything that they know behind and going with you, which you and your family, you guys are super excited. But this is a very scary moment for the puppies, especially the Yorkies. You know, they're tiny and everything else is so big, and I'm sure they feel like they don't have much say in things. So the better we can do being gentle and calm, the easier I feel like the transition starts off. So the very first thing that we're going to talk about is what you get when you pick up your puppy. And so you get a folder, and in that folder is a ton of information. So the very first thing that we'll go through is your health guarantee contract. And if you are just now watching this video, like I sent it to you and you're just watching it, once everybody makes their appointments, then I'll send out those health guarantee contracts. And basically what I need from you guys is to confirm that all of your personal information is correct and that your requested take-home items are actually on the contract and are also correct. So since we're kind of talking about that, I really do think that the take-home items are super vital to your puppy's transition. So kind of like I mentioned, they're small and everything is super scary and they're leaving everything that they know behind. And by taking, you know, a bed or a blanket or both home with you, it's something that they can surround themselves in, and it smells like home. It smells like us. It smells like their mom and their siblings, and it just really does help to ease them into the new home while bringing a little bit of our home with them. And so I really hope that everybody takes advantage of the fact that these things smell like us, smell like their family, and it will truly help them move into your family a little bit better since they have a little piece of us with them too. So I'll send you out that contract, and that's really just to read before I ask you to sign it when you pick up your puppy. I'll have everything here and ready for you when you arrive. So the next thing is this handout, and this is something else that you sign. So this is what I basically say. This is a recap of our contract, but things that I like to say out loud, which are, once you get your puppy home, I need you to make a copy of your receipt and send that via the mail to me. And really, that's just to save me on more paper and more ink. I print off so much stuff that I know it sounds kind of crazy, but it's one less thing for me to try to print. And it just is better for me if it's via the mail or UPS or FedEx or whatever works for you, but it does need to be mailed to me. I also talk about how, especially if you've never owned a Yorkie before, I talk about outside, like having clothes for them in the winter, and that they must be an inside pet. I talk about grooming and cleaning. And then I also say, if you cannot keep this puppy for any reason, he or she does have to come back to me. No rehoming, reselling, or dropping off in a shelter. I would be absolutely horrified if I thought that one of my babies was in a shelter. They can always come back. I will always love them. We will always take care of them. And so it is required, if you cannot keep your puppy, that you bring it back to me. And then the next thing that I talk about is your puppy needs to be spayed or neutered. And so really the requirement is 4 pounds or more, or a year for the girls and 18 months for the boys. But honestly, that 4 pound mark is more important in my personal opinion. I am terrified of the sedation. So the next thing that we talk about is you get an invitation to the Burner Babies family Facebook page. So this is a private closed group, and it is only for people who have adopted from us. There's like over 500 members in the group now, and I've been breeding since 2006. And so there's just a ton of families in there. It's a wonderful brag page. You can go back through and see the many years of Burners and Yorkies and ask questions, post your pictures. I really enjoy it because I get to watch my babies grow up. The next thing that you get is, I am putting it this way because privacy reasons, but is a health certificate. And that health certificate basically says that I have taken your puppy to the vet and he or she is healthy. So that shows that my side says that your puppy's healthy, and then you taking your puppy to the vet within those 3 business days says that your puppy is healthy. And so everybody agrees you got a healthy puppy. And so that's really what that's about. The next thing is your shot records. Now, this is very important because I do not keep a copy of these. Inside of these is like a sticker that says when your puppy got shots or whatever. And so this has to go with your puppy. And so if you lose this or forget it, I don't have a copy. So it's very important that you keep that and you take it to the vet with you on your first vet appointment. The next thing in your packet, I feel like I talk for an hour. See, this is why it's so important to talk about it now, because everybody's so excited when they get here to meet their puppy, which I love. I love seeing everybody excited. It is my favorite part. But you don't want to talk, you don't want to listen to me ramble on for 20 minutes while you get your new puppy. So it's much better to do it this way. I have your full attention. You can think of any questions and we can talk about it when you get here versus trying to go through this packet. So anyways, the next thing that you get is a letter that I call our transition letter, and it starts with the words congratulations. And this just talks about your puppy's first few days at home, first couple weeks probably. It talks about grooming and how, like, you never want to sedate your puppy at the groomer. Like, your groomer should be able to groom your dog without any type of sedation or medication. It talks about kids. It talks about potty training, just a ton of things in that transition letter. It's like 4 pages long, so definitely worth a good read. The next thing I talk about is this one, and it starts with, hello, new puppy owner. And this one talks about specifically hypoglycemia. So the Yorkie obviously is a small breed dog, and with that comes the risk of hypoglycemia, which is basically a drop in sugar levels. And so it's important to always allow your dog to have access to food and water, and that really is to try to prevent that hypoglycemia. So that handout basically talks about what hypoglycemia is, how to prevent it, what it looks like if it does happen, and what to do if it is happening. Hypoglycemia can be life-threatening, which is why we encourage free feeding in the Yorkies, which I have a video about free feeding, so please go watch it. And then we also encourage the playpen so they can always have that access to food and water while trying to keep their living space tidy. Woo! The next thing that I talk about is dog food. So this just talks about the importance of feeding a good quality food and what that food should look like in terms of nutrition levels. The next thing that I have in the packet is regarding the new vet vitamins, and it starts with why New Vet Plus is a part of our guarantee. So this is just a vitamin. I'm a huge believer in them. I have seen them do wonderful things. I don't have any senior Yorkies. I mean, they're older, but they're not senior yet. But I have had many senior Burners, and that's because their lifespan is so much shorter than the Yorkies. And I have seen these vitamins turn around a dog and make them feel young again. And so I really try to encourage, like, hey, while the joints are growing and there's a lot of stress on the body, like during a transition, we give the vitamins. And then again, at the end of life, when you can kind of start to see their age. So I do highly encourage the vitamins. And then the last thing that you get in your packet is this handout right here. It starts with the Yorkshire Terrier. And typically I would write everything that I put in the handouts. Everything else I basically have written that's more personalized. But I found this handout on the internet, and honestly, it says it way better than I could have ever said it. And so it just talks about kind of what to expect with your new puppy, especially if you've never had a Yorkie before. So it's a wonderful handout. So let's see. I just wanted to talk about, I kind of touched on how the puppies are scared and kind of fearful. I mean, you got to think if you were just a couple pounds, everything else in the world is extremely big and extremely scary. And so it is very common that puppies at some point in their first year of life go through a fear stage. So I kind of talk about in that transition letter how to kind of reinforce that everything is okay. The puppy's going to be okay. And so I just want you to know that that fear is pretty normal. The ride home. So I really want people to hold their new puppy on the way home. Reason being is because they are scared. Everything is changing in their world. It is probably the scaredest they will ever be in their whole life, for something that isn't, traumatic. So if you can hold your puppy on the way home, you are reassuring them, even if you are just holding them, you are reassuring them that they are okay. This process is okay, and it is a great bonding experience. Now, if you have to come pick up your puppy by yourself, then obviously like a carrier of some kind would be probably the safest place for you and the new puppy. But I do encourage you, if you can hold your puppy, to do so. So I briefly talked about hypoglycemia. So this is really a true risk, being that the Yorkie is a smaller breed, and the smaller your puppy, the higher the risk. And so if you have a small puppy that I'm not comfortable with leaving yet, I will actually reach out to you before you get this video and say, I'm just not comfortable. I like to keep your puppy another week, 2, 3, 4, whatever it takes for me to be confident that your puppy with a stressor will be okay. And so I would just say prepare yourself for that. Hopefully we've already talked, but it is definitely a possibility that I will reach out and say, hey, I don't think that your puppy's going to do very well with the transition. And so even the puppy's siblings leaving, that is a stressor in itself. And so that stressor can help your puppy through the transition later, because they'll still have their mom, and so that's a reassuring. So slowly I try to increase the stress by like taking away mom for a night or during the day or something to try to get that puppy to be okay on its own before it leaves. And so that is something that I talk about in the handouts, in the transition letter. I talk about hypoglycemia all over. So food and water available to your puppy 24/7, especially during the transition. But I really feel like it needs to be a lifelong thing. Free feeding needs to be lifelong. I would say make sure you have some kind of either sugar water or Karo syrup or even just canned wet food ready in case your puppy does not eat and is kind of trending towards that risk area. So I would encourage that. And then we do not encourage a kennel, kind of for the same reason. You want your puppy to have access to food and water. The playpen allows food and water, a potty area, a play area, several different areas, while being safe and still allowing that food and water. You could throw the blanket in their bed from us, toy, whatever. And so, yeah. Anyways, and then the last thing that I'll talk about before I show you what else you get is why we discourage a collar for walks and leash. And that's because you want to try to protect that trachea of the smaller breeds, and of course that includes the Yorkies. But with a harness, you have the pressure point is a way different, stronger area versus the trachea. And so I would just tell people to wait until you have your puppy. So either you can take them to Petco, PetSmart, whatever, to actually try to get a well-fitted harness, or when you can personally measure them and get something off of Amazon. So I thought I brought I didn't. But you also get a tote bag that says Burner Babies on it. And in that tote is a puppy pad, a sample of the vitamins, and a toy that has been in with your puppy, their siblings, and their mom. And so that smells like us. So I do try to at least give you something that smells like us, but I really do hope that most people take advantage of that bed and or blankets or both. So the last thing that I'm going to say is if you made it all the way to the end of this video, thank you very much. But if you could, please type down below in the comments that your name and who you're picking up. And when you get here, I will let you pick a special surprise to take home with your puppy. And so that's just my little way of making sure everybody's watching the video. And you get a little treat at the end too that you get to pick out specifically for your puppy. So you can put your name or who you're picking up, or if you learned something, just something to show, to say to me, hey, Maggie's mom watched the video and she gets to pick a prize. So anyways, I hope you learned a lot, and I can't wait to meet you guys and introduce you to your puppies. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you later. Thanks, everyone.